afternoon, class. My name is Tammy Wilson, and for my informative speech today, I would like to talk to you guys about the American Poet Laureate, Rita Dove. She was actually the first African-American Poet Laureate for the United States of America. Not the first female Poet Laureate, but obviously it's kind of a big deal for her to be both female and African, and to fall into two, for all intents and purposes, minorities, even though it's kind of a little bit ridiculous at this point in time that women consist of a minority group, being about 51% of the world population. But at any rate, a lot of you are probably somewhat unsure of what exactly it means to be a poet laureate, like where that term comes from. I didn't know really anything about that position, I guess, until I took my first lit class last semester, which was kind of funny. As an English major, you would think that that would be something that I would know about. According to the U.S. Library of Congress, the position of Poet Laureate has existed under two different names, but since 1937 in the United States. And I know that most of the major European countries also have a representative that stands as Poet Laureate. The term runs annually, and it's actually received by appointment between the Library of Congress and former poets. They kind of choose like who's going to represent the country as the Poet Laureate. And direct quote from the Library of Congress is that the Poet Laureate seeks to raise national consciousness to a greater appreciation of the reading and writing of poetry. So they're pretty much the poet of the country. For the year, they travel around and speak and represent their own works and other people's works and just kind of raise literary awareness across the country. So Rita Dove was appointed as the Poet Laureate for the United States from 1993 to 1995, so she held a couple consecutive terms, which is not uncommon. It doesn't have to be a different person every year, and as far as I understand, there's not necessarily a time limit like there is with the presidency or whatever else. It's just kind of the way that they've always done it, that they'll hold it for a couple years. And I don't know a whole lot about other history because obviously Rita Dove is the topic of my speech, but it's definitely an interesting I think things like to learn about as a position within the United States in terms of different influential people, and particularly for me as an English major. So Rita Dove was born in Akron, Ohio. She was born in August of 1952. Her father actually was the first African-American chemist at the Goodyear plant, which if anybody knows anything about Ohio, it's a major manufacturing state, and Goodyear is a pretty big company. They're a pretty big company to this day. So she was pretty much born into a family that was about breaking barriers and boundaries, and kind of, in my opinion, a born star. This lady is pretty phenomenal in her list of achievements, and the beginning to the end of everything that she's done so far has just been really awesome. She's a pretty awesome lady. So she grew up in this house that was like full of music and literature, and she was fully trained in singing, as in like opera singing. But she loved to read, and she always enjoyed writing, and until one of her high school teachers took her to meet the American poet John Ciardi in person, she had never considered writing as a profession. So the direct quote, according to her biographical information in the Bedford Literary Anthology for American Writers, which is from the lit class that I'm working on right now, she said, "Here he was, living and breathing and walking, joking person who wrote books, and I loved to read, but I thought the dream was too far away. The person who had written the book was a god." Well, that's kind of a broken up quote from her. There was more things that she said in between, but essentially it took her meeting this poet in person to realize, like, the people who write these things that get published and put on paper and go out to affect the masses are just people, and I'm a person and I can do that too. So it wasn't until high school that she was like infused with the dream to take writing and make it into a career. But when she graduated from high school, she was one of the top 100 high school seniors in the United States. That's like a presidential award. I didn't even know that there is such a thing as a top 100 students in the United States. Obviously, when I was 17 years old, I wasn't achieving at that level. So to me, that's really phenomenal. Like, that's, you know, an average of 2 people from each state, and she was one of them. She attended Miami of Ohio and graduated summa cum laude from her university, went on to the University of Iowa, where she ended up receiving the Fulbright scholarship, so she had the opportunity to go to Germany. And in Germany, she met another Fulbright scholar, who is a German counterpart to that international exchange program, and ended up marrying him. His name is Fred Vaughn, and they've been married since 1979. In 83, I believe, they had their first and only child, a little girl, and there's a collection of poetry by Rita Dove entitled Motherhood that explores like that mother-daughter relationship and every aspect of it, and it was written and published at the approximate age of 12 for her little girl, who's now a grown woman. Some of Rita Dove's accomplishments, according to her biographical website, which is held by the university, she was the Poet Laureate for Virginia from 2004 to 2006. She's won a Pulitzer Prize, the second African-American woman to do so. She has the Duke Ellington and Fulbright Lifetime Achievements. In 1996, she won the National Humanities Medal under Clinton, and then again the Medal of Arts under Obama, being the only poet to have been awarded both. And she holds 24 honorary doctorates from various universities around the world. So, Rita Dove lives in Charlottesville, Virginia. She's an avid ballroom dancer with her husband. She's still an English professor at the University of Virginia. Her daughter Aviva is now grown. In addition to her poetry, she composes music, writes plays and short stories, and most recently has written the collection Sonata Melodica. I'm going to have to re-record because I'm going to hit there's no way. I went too slow. I thought I didn't have enough stuff. Do you mind? Can I